Hello everybody, my name is Farmer Phil, and today for Farm Safety Week we're here with the Irish eircode, who after landing in just beside the house, and we're here with Jason McDermott and Pat Moran from the Irish eircode and the National Ambulance Service, and they're going to talk to us a bit about farm safety and what they do and the service that they provide with their ambulance.
Yeah, so I suppose thanks for the invite down for Farm Safety Week, Phil, from yourself. Because the helicopter is usually called the worst case scenarios. Would be
it's a great service.
Well, it is, and it's great, and it's nationwide really. You know, we're based in Custom Barracks in Athlone. When chatting to yourself, Phil, we saw that July statistically is the busiest month nationwide for farm accidents, and I don't know why that is. Because the nature of the accidents that we seem to get called to is quite seasonal, you know. This time of the year then it tends to be more machinery related. Yeah.
The reality of it, I suppose, given obviously it is Farm Safety Week, I suppose we're always anxious to, interact with, a certain proportion of our clients, you know.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, throughout the year we would see quite a significant amount of farm incidents. I know that can be from the bovine to the actual machinery end of it. And helicopter side or aeromedical aside, there are probably 1,000 of my colleagues on duty every day, and unfortunately we're very busy.
Yeah.
So the aeromedical, I suppose, is tasked to the more acute or the more significant incidents. Obviously it's a limited resource, so we do try and laser beam it to specifically those sort of calls. But the reality is nobody expects to see us any day. You know, they're more surprised than we are to see them. So I suppose that's the point that we keep sort of coming back to, is that complacency.
Yeah.
You know, you do something for 20 years, you know, the expectation is the next 20 will be fine.
Yeah.
Or you grow up in an environment where that machinery is always available, you've utilized it as a child, and next thing you're as an adult. Or people, I suppose, in rural tend to be solo operators. You know, there's not multiples to do multiple jobs. So guys are stretched in that they could be driving a tractor one second, they could be driving a combine the second, you know what I'm saying, whatever. So inevitably, being human, I suppose, is to maybe take a shortcut.
Yeah, your mind is elsewhere, or it's on the next job, and you're not thinking about what you're doing.
Well, look at that's yeah. I mean, I think of a call there, in the last couple of days that we had one particular poor individual wound up. He was in the time of his accident, he was chopping up some timber and wound up getting a significant musculoskeletal injury. But his chief concern was making sure the silage wrap was delivered to the lads that were baling up in the field, and to phone somebody else to come collect the tractor. Now bear in mind, this poor chap had a broken leg and couldn't get to his tractor, and I said that's the only thing that kept him off the tractor, do you know what I mean? But he was more worried about everything else that was going on
rather than himself.
Exactly. And that tends to be, so the reality is when we hear there's farmers involved, we usually suspect the worst, because they're the last people that'll call us in general. Do you know what I mean? So there is that sort of carry on, it'll be fine. Work is sort of a third medical, a third sort of trauma, and a third sort of cardiac related. We may not take, I suppose, the injured person to the local hospital, we take them to definitive care. So that's where they're going to be treated and where they will probably recover from. Yeah. So, probably in this general area that might be Dublin Metropolitan. So depending on the injury, that could be Beaumont for a head injury, it may matter for cardiothoracics, or I suppose maybe Tala for pelvic injury. So it's really specific, but it's to definitive care as opposed to going to the local hospital and then being ultimately moved on somewhere else at a later stage. Ultimately, flight time in this maybe 10 to 20 minutes tend to be a sort of our average size, maybe 30 occasionally. So really fast to definitive care. It's really unbeatable if you have something happen in the middle of rural Ireland.
Yeah. Oh no, it like, I've often heard of stories where there'd been an accident and you'd ring and you'd say, the ambulance, stand out on the side of the road.
Yeah.
And to try and find them.
Kind of like what can we do, to make people's chances of getting the service quicker? Well, it all starts with the 999 phone call. Yeah. And take it back a step. So like our friend that was cutting up the tree in the recent days, he was on his own and he was working beside the tractor and broke his leg, and he wasn't able to get his phone in the tractor. Yeah. So it was a nice calm day now, that the days we've been having. So he managed to shout across the field to a neighbour that was out 2 fields away, out the back of the house, and they came up and alerted, rang 999. So that was the trigger then to get the emergency services involved. But if you're working on your own, you're in treacherous territory straight away. Yeah. So that if that's working with animals or working with machinery or chainsaws or bushes or whatever you're at, you know, the risk is always there. So I'd say have your phone
always,
with you or within.
Always in your pocket.
Always in your pocket. If you're leaving the tractor, have the
put it in your
or
pocket.
you're leaving the Jeep, or the quad or whatever, have the phone in your pocket, because you wouldn't know, you could fall on the ground, or you could twist an ankle or break a leg or get caught. And you know, if someone was across a big hedge and you know they might only be 20 metres away, they might as well be on the moon if they can't see you. Everyone should really, I suppose, maybe have it on a piece of paper in a notebook or stored in their phone, their eircode. Their eircode straight away is going to give the call taker will know straight away, you know.
Exactly where.
And have saying things, I suppose, that we all hear about, you know, covering PTO shafts and covering all parts of moving machinery and turning off the machinery when you're getting out and stuff like that. Like, that's the main ones. But then there's the hidden ones as well, you know, that you take it a step further, then the long-term effects. So, you know, farmers, I suppose, when the pressure is on, they tend not to look after themselves. So, like, you know, skin cancer from not wearing sun cream.
Yes.
You know, cardiac issues that would be long-term stress. You know, farmers maybe not eating right, or, you know, going hours without, you know, or rest is another big thing.
Yeah.
Can have longer effects. Immediately, it won't kill you today, but over 1,000 today's, you know,
it catches up with you.
It does, yeah. What I want to do is just thank landowners as well, because we rely hugely on them.
That's our neighbour.
Well, there's a good example. So we might, if there's something, God forbid, happened here, we might be landing in his field. Yeah. You know,
because we actually, when we were seeing you looking around, and then we were like, geez, this helicopter's a lot bigger than what we thought. And we're like, oh, in fact, they're never going to land here. And we seen you, we thought maybe you might have landed over there, or that we weren't sure, but we weren't.
I think that's another great example of the heli. Like, yesterday, that particular call was many fields in with limited access. So, like, you know, fine to have 2 ambulances turn up at a scene, but literally if you're half a mile in a field with no access or very limited access, the heli can literally land beside the incident, scoop the patient and transport from there. So
put people's mind at ease that we're not going in willy-nilly, you know, there's always usually a purpose, whether it be training. If the training flight, we'll never land, you know, with the risk of damaging crops or animals, or, you know, in a built-up area. You know, we can still get the same training benefits in a remote area where there's not going to be any disruption.
So if people see the air ambulance landing in a field, it could be just a training exercise.
Exactly, yeah, it could be just a training
exercise. But in
the
same caveat, Phil, I suppose we're anxious to explain to the general public and the farming community that if you do see the helicopter, they may not instinctively recognise that this is an air ambulance helicopter.
Yes.
I suppose to understand that the aeromedical service exists in the country, and that when they see a helicopter in the field, it's there for a particular reason.
Like, we're based in Custom Barracks in Athlone, and if you can imagine Athlone being, I won't say it for the West Meath people, but it should be the centre of the universe or the centre of the country, but you know, you can draw like the spokes of a wheel out there. You know, it'll travel at 300 kilometres an hour, you know, so we can be anywhere in the country.
Anywhere very quickly.
Exactly, because it's centrally located, you know. You know, it's 6 minutes up here, you know, so it's
and I mean, we can be within 90% of the country in 40 minutes. And I know 40 minutes might seem like a long time, but ultimately if you have an entrapment per se in a car or a piece of machinery or whatever, the reality is it's probably going to take you 10 or 15 minutes to maybe get an ambulance, and then maybe the fire service, etc. So we would turn up literally as that person is extricated from that piece of machinery, and that's at the longest version of that 40 minutes, you know. So it sounds probably, you know, quite a while, but in actual reality it's
quick.
Absolutely. You know, I'm 10 years with it this year. I suppose throughout your career of 20 odd years with the ambulance service, and there are times, you know, you sort of wonder, you know, do we make a difference? Have I made a difference? Or put your finger on that one specific case? But, you know, I can think of multiples of cases with this machine and the service where, you know, without it people would not be alive. Or we have definitely made a significant difference to a family's life. And to emphasise enough, be conscious about what potentially could go wrong. Think about it. Try and plan for it. And, you know, even the simple thing of, you know, having access to a mobile phone, you know, ideally everyone should know where they are, obviously. We've had cases where, you know, people are operating remotely but would quote their own eircode at home, which is
a couple of miles away.
Or maybe many miles away. So you can see the difficulty. Like the modern smartphones, we have the ability, even, God forbid, that you're not able to tell us where you are. We have a little app that we can send you a text, and once you answer the text, it'll send us back your latitude and longitude. So we can tell where you are within about 10 feet.
And straight to the point.
Exactly, to 10 feet of where you are in a field, in a remote area, whatever the story is. So I know it's a simple thing to keep saying, but the benefit of having you know, and I suppose farmers are one of those communities.
Keeping it on you. Because oftentimes you get in the tractor and maybe you got to text them, you look at it, you peg it down the side, you put in the phone holder, and you'd be jumping in and out of the tractor there.
Yeah.
Like you're bailing or whatever, somewhere off the net, or you're doing something.
Well, I suppose ideally you know, you'd have more than one person at any job. But
that's not always the case.
No, not in the farming community.
A few kind of more unusual farming incidents. We had the guy with the power washer. He was power washing and he had it on we'd say he had it on maybe a Massey 290, where his normal power washing machine or tractor would be the 35.
Yes.
But the arms are longer. He had a cover on all the PTO shaft, but it wasn't long enough. Came apart.
Came apart.
And spinning and cut his leg off. Yeah. A beat chopper guy the tipping into the beat. Do you have one? The beat chopper? You know,
we do. We have a beat
tipping
chopper.
It in. I think his dad was actually tipping it in with a front loader, and the lump of muck or something. The bit, you know, the amount of stuff sat proud of the auger, and he went up and went to kick it, and he slipped down and got pulled down into it.
It's just, if time and care had been taken, like either to knock it off or get his stick instead of using your foot.
Well, for now,
you know.
But you see, and I think this is why I say to you, complacency.
Yeah.
I want to believe that was his first time to do that.
But probably wasn't.
I know it wasn't.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's human nature at its best. We're in a hurry. There's things to do. Your pressure is on. Look, it's it's
the quickest thing you can do to get it going again.
And literally a second later, it had happened. There was no coming back on it. You know, and consequently, as I said to you, that's a life-changing injury. I suppose everyone, in hindsight, you know, would do things differently, but often you don't get a second chance at these things.
The harvester.
You know, you're looking in, and the grass, can't see the wire, you put your hand in and in a bit too far.
And take the ends of the fingers off. Yeah.
That is, we've responded to those.
Like our harvester there last year took in the end of the arm of the rake, and it took, what did it take off of? About 3 inches of steel. Of 5mm tubular steel, and it just chopped it all off. It didn't break the harvester.
Yeah.
So you can imagine what to do with your finger.
People think, as I said to you, it will never happen to them. As I said, there is 1,000 of my colleagues at this very minute around the country, you know, waiting to go to calls. You know, the calls are there. It happens. People, you know, God forbid, you know, wake up in front of me, or we're greeted by me, or whatever. But the reality is, it does happen to people on a daily basis. And if that's the one message I could leave with anyone, it can happen. It does happen. With the best in the world, just for that split second of complacency or in a hurry, I suppose this time of year where, you know, daylight is limited, or hours in the day are limited.
Dry hours can be getting tight, and you're rushing and racing to get the hay saved, or the corn cut, or the straw baled.
I suppose like that has a lot to feed it. The Irish climate as well feeds into that a lot, because you know, the windows for work are so short that everything has to be done because there's rain coming this evening, or, you know, in a few hours time you're watching the phone to see there's a shower coming now, you know.
And then every half an hour you lift up the phone and the weather changes. And the rain's coming sooner.
And the pressure is ramped up even for the likes of yourself, Phil, that's out contract, and you know, you could have 10 lads screaming on the phone at you. You know, so the temptation's on you then, and you're putting yourself in risk to satisfy.
To try and keep.
Not just young lads all over
all over the country. There's 101 lads will be all doing the same thing. Like yesterday, the big tractor broke down on us, and I was square baling hay, and I missed out on a customer. We went to him this morning and it rained. So now that has to be left off. The wire fused itself to the chassis. And kept blowing the fuses for the drive, so we couldn't drive the tractor. Some lad might say stick in a stronger fuse, next thing she's on fire. You know, I suppose your viewers are going to go, these fellas are talking the same old PTO shafts and mind yourself. You know, like, and I'm the same from a farm at home, and if the pressure's on, you know, never mind, Pat Moore.
The reality is, look, and PTO shaft, I suppose that's the constant sort of, you know, drama scenario. But we still go to farms where fellas are mangled by PTOs. Farming has to be one of those environments where it is, but the risk ultimately has to be one of the highest within any industry, you know, because of all the issues and the machinery involved and the location. Like, it has to be one of the riskiest environments to operate in.
I'm looking at this yoke like, Jesus Christ, this yoke is massive. It's an absolute vital service for people. Like when we were originally messaged first, we were mad to do whatever we could to promote the service. It's a service you don't want to know about, but it's great to know it's there.
Correct.
So we just want to say a big thank you to the Irish Air Corps and to Jason and Pat for coming down with the helicopter, landing in the field and giving us a run through on farm safety and things. So just remember, the takeaway from this video is mind yourselves and think twice about what you're going to do, and think of what could go wrong, because it can go wrong. And so big thanks to the Irish Air Corps. 100 years
Yeah, this year.
in
that's
operation.
Right. And the EAS service, joint operation with the National Ambulance Service, yeah. So 10 years old since June, so great success.
We've had 5,000 calls.
5,000 calls in 10 years.
Yeah.
Just that's a call a day or more, is it?
That is, yeah. Of course, that's that, yeah.
That's the sight. Anyways, thanks very much. So, we have just finished up with the Irish eircode there, and they're just after getting a call to head off with some bit of kit. I hope to God that fence doesn't lift. Jeez, that's an experience and a half.
Something I thought I'd see it landing.
Well, you don't want to see it.
No,
you don't want
to be seeing that, but no, that was good, and it's very important to be aware of farm safety.
Yeah, and it's great to know that service is there.
That's some service.
That's
some service.
That service is saved more lives.
Lifesaver.
They're going off now.
Yeah, they're going off.
Gone straight to a job.
So that's the Irish eircode, and
from Athlone.
Heading off now on call. So big thanks to them for coming down to us to have a talk about farm safety. I hope everyone takes away the message.
Just always think, safety. What if?
Yeah, what if? What could go wrong?
What could go wrong?
Because it might go wrong.
But they're great lads.
Yeah, but anyways.
Great lads. Rough is feeling the farm and he picks it to land the helicopter.
Well, no, you...
The light is so noisy.